Hello from WKYT News. Welcome to Kentucky Newsmakers. I'm Bill Bryant. Later, we'll hear from the Kentucky Education Association. They have concerns about the state budget that's being hammered out in Frankfort. The KEA President Joel Wolford will join us shortly. But first, State Auditor Allison is here during a busy time for her office. She has ongoing audits of the state's largest school districts in Fayette and Jefferson counties. We'll get an update on where those stand. Ball also recently announced an audit of the executive branch of state government, raising questions about millions of dollars in spending. Governor Beshear clapped back at that audit, and a group is calling for more scrutiny of the state bidding process. The group said single bid contracts for highway asphalt hit $483 million last year, a 79% jump from the previous year. Legislation is proposed that would have the auditor look at those non-bid contracts in the future. State auditor is independent of the legislature and other office holders, makes her own decisions about what to look into, and we welcome Auditor Ball. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it's good to be here.
Well, let's start with that executive branch audit. There is some controversy there. Your office claims there was about $39 million in questionable spending. You said there was extravagant spending on some areas within the executive branch. As you know, the governor has pushed back pretty hard on that.
Sure.
Do you stand by your findings?
So I'll tell you a bit of background on that. It actually wasn't an audit. What it was is it was a review of EMARS, and EMARS is the state accounting system. So the General Assembly, it's a budget year, and they're trying to make their decisions about where to appropriate funds, and they have been asking Beshear's administration for some answers about travel, food costs, advertising, a variety of areas. And I think they felt like they were not getting answers that were really illuminating as they were trying to build this budget. So they asked my office, hey, will you do an EMARS review and just tell us what's been input into EMARS? It's not an audit, so we didn't do a deep dive. But it was an EMARS review, and these are actually the numbers that the Beshear administration put into EMARS. So we
For a non-government people,
yes.
EMARS means you.
It is the state accounting system.
Okay.
So this is accessible not just by me, but also from the state treasurer and the finance cabinet and a lot of people. And it is input by people as they're paying bills, essentially. So it was the Beshear administration that put in, that you code it, you say this is for travel, this is for food, whatever. And we just did a EMARS review. It's very common for us to do EMARS reviews. We look at the books all the time. It's very typical when we do an audit process. But this actually wasn't an audit. This was just a, what does EMARS say? We have a lot of expertise when it comes to knowing what the codes mean, et cetera. So the General Assembly called me in to testify last week, which I did. And I do think a lot of these numbers were excessive or questionable, and that's what I said at the time. And so my job is transparency, accountability, provide information to the General Assembly, which I was happy to do last week. So the numbers were quite large. As you just said, there was about $39 million in advertising. There was a lot when it comes to travel. Some of the things that stuck out a little bit were the expenses paid by Kentucky State Police to travel with the governor. I, of course, think the governor needs security detail. Absolutely, governors should have that. But you start to look at just a deep dive on what was paid, and Beverly Hills hotels, resorts in Aspen, resorts in Florida, $7,000 to rent a limo in Germany, $4,000 to rent cars in Switzerland, a $5,000 fee to get a consultant essentially to navigate the airport and gates in Switzerland. So large amounts of money, a lot of food paid for, one at a private club in Aspen. So these are large amounts of money that are being spent.
The club for state police? Or?
Yeah, for KSP, probably to go with the governor, I would think. So it's hundreds of dollars paid to the Caribou Club in Aspen. So these are the kinds of things that you look at in a budget year, especially in a year like this. We're trying to tighten our belt just a little bit, and you see, are you using money the best way? So I'm happy to provide information. That's my job as state auditor, is make sure there's transparency and people can make the right decisions.
Is it regrettable to you that it, in some ways, is looked at through a political lens, and that you're a Republican auditor, the governor's a Democrat?
I think it is regrettable. I think it is, and I know we're in a hyper-political time right now, so people just see things through those lenses. But and I would just remind the governor, I'm the state auditor, and my job is to make information transparent, make it available. This is actually information that his administration plugged into the EMARS system. His own people put it in, and they put supporting documents too. They attached invoices and bills. So I believe that transparency is good, conversations are good, let's just talk about it.
When it comes to promotional efforts, as you said, the Council on Post-Secondary Education oversees colleges and was promoting what college can do for Kentuckians.
Yes.
Is it the mission of those dollars or the amount of those dollars that concern you?
So that's a great question. And I think when you're in a budget year, you look at, okay, are we tight at all? We are kind of tight. Is this the type of money that you want to be spending on this type of program? I think the General Assembly was mostly concerned about food, beverage. I think they were concerned about advertising, because when you're talking about tens of millions of dollars, it's quite a bit. So do you have to spend this in advertising? Last year, there was $250,000 spent by CHFS to get people to get the COVID shot. Now, it's 2025. People know about the COVID shot. I don't know necessarily that's a great use of $250,000. So I think this is important. This is what you do on these kinds of years, is you just dig in and you see, is this a good use of these dollars? And I think some of these really, to my eye, they look kind of excessive.
So your position is, here is the information, the legislature can decide what to do with it.
That's correct. We didn't make any findings. It wasn't an audit, so we didn't, like I said, we didn't do a deep dive, but we just provided, this is what the state accounting system says. This is, if you have questions about travel, you have questions about food and beverage. I know we had some conferences that were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that were, 75 people, 35 people attending in-state. So it's not even like with travel. So I think those are good questions to ask.
All right. Let's talk about the Jefferson and Fayette County audits that are underway.
Yep.
We know both schools had revenue shortfalls. What is your time frame for those audits?
Great question. So Jefferson County, I can answer really clearly, because that one is set for a summer release, early summer. That one is actually nearing, that's been a massive project. We're doing, not just the finances, but we're looking at quality of the education, is it safe, are the school buses running on time, all kinds of aspects on that one. So that's a huge audit. Last one was done over a decade ago, so we're trying to replicate the expansiveness of that audit, see, did you fix things from last time, what needs to be worked on. So that's a summer release. The Fayette County one, we are working on diligently, and it's making great progress, but I'm going to be a little bit discreet about the timing of that one, because one thing I've noticed is that we've had, I feel like, some gamesmanship from Fayette County. When we first announced that we were going to be looking at the audit, they then said, okay, well, we want to do our own audit, and that's fine to a certain extent, but I do think, use some caution. Don't duplicate services, because all these things cost money. If you want to look at something else, that would be my recommendation. But we met with them, we told them the scope of our audit, and then they took our scope and retained somebody else to do it. You can have other audits, but it feels a little bit like they watch to see what we do and kind of prepare their own documentation. So
your position is then that you continue and you will do your audit, or do you want to see the findings of their audit? I'm
going to continue my audit, and I'm not going to give a release date, because it may be a good idea to let them release their audit first, and I'll see if it's consistent with mine. But I feel like we've had some like unusual back and forths that I don't usually see when it comes to audits, and I want to make sure this is as accurate as possible and fixes problems.
You called it gamesmanship.
Yes, I mean, I kind of feel that way about it. I know it's a strong word, but I told them, hey, go ahead and do an audit if you want to, but it's my recommendation is, don't spend extra money doing the same work that we're doing. And at the time, I was actually trying to get the General Assembly to pay for the audit. I actually did an ABR request, which means it's above what my usual budget is, and I had it all sent over to the General Assembly and asked them, will you pay for a Fayette County audit? And I got some favor from the General Assembly. I think they would have done it. But then when Fayette County said, hey, we actually have the money to do our own audit, I didn't feel like I could then try to use my negotiating skills and tactics to try and get that audit paid for.
You talked about how exhaustive and extensive the Jefferson County audit will be. Now, Fayette County.
It's not going to be as broad as that one.
Do you look beyond the numbers, though?
So it's a great question. We are hyper-focused on the numbers in this situation, and it may lead to a broader audit at another point. I actually would like to do that, and I think it's a good idea. But we are hyper-focused on doing a penny-by-penny forensic audit, essentially a forensic audit, going through to find out where are we at financially, how did we get here, how do we fix it.
And again, no time frame. You don't be.
I have a time frame,
okay,
and we're working on it really fast. And so I can just tell everybody, trust the process a little bit on this one, but we're working on it. We're going to get it out real quick.
Kentucky awarded nearly $500 million in single bid asphalt road construction contracts last year. Kentucky Public Radio reported that there's a group that is calling for more scrutiny of the bidding process because it's a 79% jump from the previous year.
Yes.
Is that an area of concern to you?
That's a great question, and absolutely it is. It's something that I've had on my radar screen, and of course when the media starts reporting something, then you really start paying attention. I had that happen with the cannabis audit that we're doing. It was the media that first started reporting it. So many times issues are brought to light because they've gotten media coverage. So it's something that we are paying attention to, and there's a bill actually right now in the General Assembly that would require my office to do a deep audit into procurement at transportation. So it may be the kind of thing that it's going to be built into our regular office work that we do every couple of years. This is something we review. When something gets significant, we look at it, like we do that, and we are always watching for what are significant issues. It may just be that this becomes part of the regular operation of business.
The Transportation Cabinet says it often rebids contracts when there is a single bid.
Sure.
Should that be standard practice?
So the procurement process is really laid out very well, I think, to try and say we want the cheapest service we can pay for, and we want it to be the best. So you're looking for the best and the cheapest. And I think it's always a good idea to make sure you're doing it that way. There are exceptions, and it's very possible that some exceptions have crept in that really shouldn't have, that allow for sole source, single bidding. It seems unusual when it comes to asphalt, because usually sole source means an area of expertise. You're the only one that does it. And that doesn't seem to be the case when it comes to asphalt. So, this is the kind of thing that you do keep an eye on.
You mentioned the cannabis audit.
Yes.
Where are things?
Yeah, so great question. That one is also still in process. We're getting very, very close to completing that one. That took a lot longer than I wanted it to. We actually started in the spring of last year. And we made requests to the office, the cannabis office that's working on this, and they told us, hey, we will submit documents to you in October. October 1st came around. We did not get documents from them. We ended up getting documents later in October, around mid-October. They sent us about 1 million individual documents, and we've been going through those and then doing all the process that you do once you have those kinds of documents. So it just took us a while to get the documents from them, and that unfortunately has been a lot of my experience as state auditor, is that it takes a while to get people to send you what you're asking for.
What are you trying to find out in that audit?
So good question. So we want to find out about the process for licensing. That's been the area that people have had concerns. So you try to figure out if they're doing what's called app stacking. Are they, because there's a few different licenses that you can get for cannabis. You can be a distributor, you can be a cultivator. There's different types of licenses that you can get, and the concern is that you're going to have somebody, like one company, set up several different, essentially fake companies. Like you could set up a bunch of different companies, but it's really one, and you're sending in multiple applications. And we actually know that this happened. There were people that sent in lots of applications when it was essentially the same company. So that kind of stack the cards against certain people, especially the smaller farmers in Kentucky who just don't have the ability to create lots of different companies. So it's a bit of a game with that one. So you have the app stacking, and then we were also concerned about essentially people creating monopolies, where they would get a license in each category. And we do know of at least one out-of-state company that got a license in each category. So really this is a review of the licensing process and making sure that Kentucky farmers got a fair shot at being able to do this.
You're still battling some about the foster care program, right?
Well, that is correct. Yeah, that's still an ongoing issue too. We did a preliminary investigation just to find out if this was something worth reviewing, and it's about foster children sleeping in office buildings. And we found out that there were children sleeping in office buildings as young as 1, 2, and 3. It was all over the Commonwealth of Kentucky. In the period of time we reviewed, the average age was 13. And then sometimes they were staying for multiple nights. We are currently conducting that investigation, and we're nearing the end of that one as well, so that's going to be out soon.
Auditor, what else are you looking into right now?
Oh, we keep busy. We keep busy. Jefferson County is a big one for us. Fayette County is a big one for us. Cannabis is a big one for us. These foster children is a big one. But there are always other issues that are coming up. The City of London is one that we're reviewing right now. There's just a variety of issues that are always ongoing. And we also do over 400 regular audits all the time. Yeah. So we keep busy.
If people have something to report to you, they can contact your office?
Please let us know. A lot of what we do is based on tips.
Your term limited in 2027, less than a year to that filing deadline.
Well, what's great for you to know is that I'm not term limited. I'm only my first term.
That's right. You are for. Yeah.
So there's plenty of work to do.
Okay. Does that ever hint that you will run again?
I think I will. It's a great question, and you pray through that and you talk about that as a family. I love the work that I'm doing. It is meaningful work, and so I think that I will be doing a re-election bid.
All right, so my mistake in the preface of the question got a good answer.
That's all right.
Newsworthy answer.
That's all
Sounds
right.
like you're running for re-election.
I think I am.
Auditor Ball, thanks for coming. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Everybody, we're back with the president of the Kentucky Education Association. That's next on Kentucky Newsmakers. Welcome back to Kentucky Newsmakers from WKYT. The 2026 legislative session rolls on, and the Kentucky Education Association is watching closely. The KEA represents more than 40,000 teachers and other school personnel. The KEA has sounded the alarm about the Republican budget proposal being considered in the State House. A current proposal would place a cap on employer health contributions, and some fear that would lead to an increase in insurance premiums. The Budget Chairman, Jason Petrie, has insisted that the budget is a work in progress right now. Joining us now is KEA President Joel Wolford, a former librarian at Russell Springs Elementary. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having us.
What do you want your members and others out there to know about the state budget proposal that is in the works right now?
Right. I guess the first thing I'd like to put out there is that we are very grateful for the monies that the legislature has put into our pension system over the last several bienniums. They have kept their promise to fund that, and we're grateful for it. This budget has is problematic in some ways. First and foremost, the insurance premiums that may be coming down the road for state employees and educators and retirees, some retirees. This would take $500 around on average out of each educator's paycheck each month. When you look at what Kentucky teachers are making, that's 15% of a new teacher's starting salary, and some of our classified employees are already working just for insurance. Some of them write a check to their district each month because their insurance costs more than what they're making. This would be devastating for them.
Are you pushing back with the legislature, and what kind of reception are you getting?
Many of the legislatures have said the same thing that you referenced Chairman Petrie saying. It's early days. This is a work in progress. This is a starting point. So we've talked to a lot of legislators, and many of them say that they won't vote for this with this insurance premiums in this form.
So fair to say you are hopeful that will not happen?
We are hopeful that it will not happen, absolutely.
The KEA has long called for higher teacher pay. As you know, the legislature has been very reluctant to mandate that. Should they, in your view?
That's a good question, Bill. The state says that, and this is their words, I heard them speak this in a committee, we don't hire you, we don't fire you, you're not our employees, you don't work for us. Well, now, I would point out that they make a lot of rules for us, for people who are not their employees, but I guess that's part of their job. I'm sorry.
What would you want people to know in terms of, that relationship, though, that you say they deny they're your employer?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about. I lost my train of thought. So the state legislature says it's not their responsibility to give teacher raises. That puts it all on the district. That pushes it down. I mean, in effect, it can raise local taxes because some districts may not have the funds to give raises. The legislature has put money in the seat formula, and in past bienniums they have said that there is enough money to give teacher raises. That money gets down to the school districts and you hear a different story. We don't have enough to give raises because we need money for textbooks, or we need money for professional development, or any number of projects that may come up in a school year.
We hear on transportation in particular that is underfunded, and many superintendents have said they're having to shift money to pay to keep those buses running.
I've heard, I think the number I heard was 123 million or 120 million cut from transportation. That's another cost that districts will have to come up with the money for, and that's a very basic service for our students, getting them from their home to their school and back safely again. That's a very basic tenet of public schools, is that we will transport kids, and it's getting more expensive every year.
What you're saying, it is a vicious cycle that schools are provided more money, but they have more expenses, and then they're unable to provide those raises at times.
Right. Schools are not immune from inflation, just like the rest of us.
Do you have concerns about the amount of the SEEK funding that is going to be going to individual school districts, that elusive formula that is the calculation of how much local districts receive?
Right. I think the biggest problem I see with the SEEK formula this year is it's just the same. It's not increasing. Costs everywhere are increasing. I heard Commissioner Robbie Fletcher talking about the cost of school buses. He said when he began as a superintendent, they were around $70,000. Now it's well over $100,000. Everything's going up except for teacher pay. For teachers to have the same buying power today that they had in 2008, they would have to have about a 20% raise across the board. That's,
And they're not getting that.
And they are not getting that.
And is that keeping teachers from entering the workforce?
It is not only keeping teachers from entering the workforce, it has some teachers leaving the workforce.
You hear that?
I hear about it. I talked to a veteran teacher in Northern Kentucky a couple of years ago who was leaving her teaching position to take a job in customer service at a business in Cincinnati. She said she would be making more money, she'd be able to afford to have another child, which she couldn't do at the time, and there would be less stress. Now, I said, less stress in a customer service position? She said, absolutely. I leave everything on my desk at the end of the day. And
there seem to be a lot of education-related proposals in this session of the General Assembly, as you're watching, from the size of school boards that's under consideration to a bill that would ban DEI in elementary and secondary schools. Are you monitoring proposals like that?
We monitor all education bills that come across the table. We have a lobby team and a government relations director, and they do an excellent job staying on top of those things. As far as DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, I have an elementary school background, Bill, and to me that's probably something very different than what other people would examine this. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Diversity is just recognizing that we're all different. And that's okay. We celebrate those differences. We don't condemn them. Equity, that's just making sure that everybody has what they need to succeed. That happens in our schools already. If a child needs accommodations, they need extra time on their writing, or they need someone to help them with their math or something, they get that. It's just making sure that people have the tools that they need to make it. And inclusion, that's just basic playground manners. Everybody's included. Everybody gets a turn. We include everyone. So, when you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion in a school setting, a public school setting, it's very different than what you're going to see in a for-profit business or a university.
So you see no need for that legislation?
Not on the public school level.
Yeah. For prospective teachers out there,
right.
what would you're the head of the KEA, what would you say about a profession in teaching or education?
Going into the teaching profession is one of the most fulfilling occupations that you could have. You are helping to shape the future. You're shaping the lives of the young students in your charge. And one thing that they don't tell you when you start is that those kids are always your kids. No matter how old they are. You'll see them out in the grocery stores. They'll tell you how they're doing, what they're up to these days, whether they're married and have kids. And you celebrate all those victories with them as you see it. And then on the other side, you see some that maybe didn't get the start out of the gate that we would have liked to have seen, and they've had maybe a rough start, but there's still hope for them as well. We never give up on our students. And
they want you to know how they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you still recommend it as a way of life?
I would. Yeah. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Are you keeping an eye on this lawsuit by some students who say that funding of the schools is not equitable in the state, and that there is a growing valley between available resources in the richer and poorer districts, which in other words is where we were
in 1990
when the system of common schools was struck down by the state Supreme Court, and a court order was put in place saying you have to do otherwise.
Right.
I've always wondered why that order's not still just enforced, if that's the case. But are you watching that lawsuit from that Student Voices team?
We have been following that lawsuit with a lot of interest. First of all, it's nice to see young people get involved. It's nice to see them care enough about their schools, and quite frankly, to have the ambition and the initiative to start something like this. So we've been watching it with a lot of interest. We think that their lawsuit has some merit. I know that they got a ruling in their favor a few days ago, allowing them to continue their lawsuit. There is a disparity between the wealthier and poorer school districts. We closed that gap for a while, but now it's back.
What do you want people to know about the KEA right now?
The Kentucky Education Association has been around since 1857. We are a voice for educators, we're a voice for public education, we're a voice for students. But the thing that we're best at is saving teachers' jobs. Teachers invest a lot of time, a lot of money into their careers. Their career is the way that they feed their own children, that they keep a roof over their head, that they educate their kids. You know, their jobs are important to them. If you can't afford to lose your job, then you need to be a part of the Kentucky Education Association.
Joel Wolford is the president of the KEA. Thanks for coming.
Thank you
appreciate
very
it very
much.
much. We'll wrap up Kentucky Newsmakers in a moment. We certainly do appreciate you being here for this edition of Kentucky Newsmakers. One of our scheduled guests next week is Lexington Mayor Linda Gorton. We'll talk about the aftermath of the winter storm and some other issues going on in the community. But that's Kentucky Newsmakers for this week. Thank you for joining us, and you make it a good week ahead.